Hey everybody, it's Greg Rice here in the bucket, Pawtucket, Rhode Island. It's a glorious Sunday, April 21st, 2024. And if you celebrated the holiday yesterday, you're probably recovering today, and that's totally cool. All right. Now we're going to talk today about Senate Bill 2347, all right, here in Rhode Island. And today's starting lineup are Senators Ewer, Acosta, Basilian, Mack, DeMario, Zurier, Gu, Murray, and Bell. All right, and this was introduced back February of this year. It's a Senate Finance Committee bill. And what it does pointedly, and I'm going to read it straight from the bill here, is create a new tax on gains from the sale or exchange of real property held for short periods of time, which is 6 years or less. That will be considered a short period. And it establishes a comprehensive framework to calculate and implement its enforcement, and provides penalties for imprisonment. Put me in jail. A lot of people would love to see me there. Provides penalties for imprisonment and or fines for those who evade the taxes. Now, it's a very dense bill, okay? A lot going on here. I'm not going to bore you with the details. I'm going to hit you with the high notes. We're going to look now at the rate of tax, right? What's it going to cost you? The tax imposed pursuant to this chapter shall be based upon the years held, okay, at the following rates on the gain, as gain is determined under 4464(6). So if you own a property, say less than 4 months, you buy it on May 1st, you fix it up, it gets listed on June 1st, the closing happens on July 1st, you've owned it for 2 months, you are going to owe 60%. 60% will be your capital gain. And it's important to note this does call for the reduction by the federal taxes due. Okay, so typically you owe 10% to the Fed. That's going to come off the top of this number. So you're going to pay your 10% in, and essentially you're going to owe Rhode Island 50%. So let's do some math. Let's use a flipper example. Say you're a flipper and you buy a property for $200,000. Okay, you sell it 2 months later for $400,000. Your gain, your gross gain, is $200K. Now you're going to have some reductions, right? If you paid a real estate commission, legal costs, some of the closing costs you can deduct. Say $10,000 of that comes off the top. So now you've reduced your gain to $190. Rhode Island will want 60% of the $190, if I understand this correctly. So you will owe Rhode Island $114,000. And then you'll owe the Fed another $20, right? So you'll owe $135,000. What are you making? $50K? The government would make almost 3 times more than you would, and never pick up one paintbrush. Now this will decrease as the months and years pass. So for example, if you own it for 4 months but less than 8, it drops down substantially to 35%. 8 months but less than a year, 30%, and so on, all the way down to 5% if it's 5 years to 6 years. And then after the 6 years, you're okay to sell it at your discretion without any financial penalty. So, what do I think about this? So I think a lot of things, but 2 major things with this bill as it pertains to each and every one of you. Number 1, the state and the government is always looking for a new way to increase their revenue streams. And this is an easy way to do so because the amount of properties that change hands on a daily and yearly basis in the state is consistent. It's high volume, it's big numbers. So it's a quick and easy way for the state to tap into newfound equity that is garnered through appreciation, through renovation, and things of the like. So it's an easy way to just grab a little slice, and it's not something that you feel so much, okay, especially as the years go on, that would, like, oh, I earned that money, right? It's more like, oh, I sold it for this much. Well, I only get this much. Like it has a lighter kind of zing than it would be like, at the end of the year, you get a bill in the mail that says you owe $20,000 for your federal taxes. You're like, oh, I didn't save for that. This is different. This is kind of grabbing from what's there already. Secondly, the state believes that we are in a housing crisis, and I disagree. I believe we're in a demand crisis, which is a good thing. And this type of tax would essentially remove more investors and flippers specifically from the market, because they would essentially be out of business for the most part, not wanting to pay those high taxes. So it would open up the market to other buyers, primary residents, owner-occupant buyers. So I think it would do those two pointed things for the state. More money if people still chose to do it, and also open up a larger segment of the population to essentially have first access to a property, as opposed to a flipper who's going to grab it cash, close in 10 days for $200,000, and then sell it for double or triple or whatever just a few months down the line, which further drives up our median house price, which further precludes other buyers from entering and buying a fixer-upper on their own. So that's what I ultimately think is the goal here. I believe it would do so much harm, however, and actually do the opposite. Because if this was enacted, people would say, oh, I'm not paying any taxes. I'm just going to hang on to this place until the 6 years is up so I don't have to pay any money. It would limit and suffocate the free-flowing exchange of property, because people wouldn't want to pay, the same way that rent control would stifle growth and stifle movement. So this is a very scary bill, and not to mention it's going to put people out of business. I know quite a few people that flip properties for a living. They do 10, 15, 20, 25 a year, and they do a great job. They do a quality job. It's a very hard thing to do, and they would essentially be out of business. Okay? Even if they waited the 8 months, right? 30, 35% tax. That's a lot of money. That's a lot of money. Not to mention if they did a quick one at the 60%. It's absolutely crazy to think about that. Again, I always come back to getting involved, becoming a student of the game. This may not directly apply to you, but it could. And it could apply to your friends, to your family, to your business colleagues. This would hurt and damage the real estate community, and it would benefit the state. Okay? I don't see how this benefits people like me, people like you that are investing and improving in properties and choosing a certain way to make our money. How does this benefit us? It does not. Okay? So again, Senate Bill 2347, and it's probably going to be heard, I would say, in the next week or so. And I always think it's funny to look at the penalties. Yeah. So any entity or person who willfully defeats or evades or attempts to defeat, right? Did you evade? Oh, but did you try to evade? Same. These bills are... I feel like they have lawyers that write these bills. Okay, so, or attempts to defeat or evade the tax imposed by this chapter shall be imprisoned for up to 2 years or fined not more than $10,000, or 5 times the amount of tax defeated or evaded or attempted to be defeated or evaded, whichever amount is greater, or may be both imprisoned and fined. And I always love at the end it says, this act shall take effect upon passage. Just like 60% prison 5 times, this, that. This will take effect upon passage. Right? It's just like such a simple comment to end such a very wild proposition. So 2347, keep it in mind, stay active. Any questions, any comments, let me know. Once again, Greg Rice here in the bucket, your property and your 60% tax managed.